Oral questions by members.
Leader of the Official Opposition.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Premier has been in power since 2022. And over that period of time, which is less than 3 years, we've gone from a $6 billion surplus to a $14 billion deficit. It's a $20 billion shift with nothing to show for it except for 4 credit downgrades. 2 of those downgrades came in a single day just last week. It's unprecedented. The downgrade from Moody's highlights a very serious issue about transparency and accountability with this government's budget. To the Premier, please explain to this House exactly how this government will make up the $3 billion of lost revenue in their budget.
Minister of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you to the member opposite for the question. This budget is focused on 3 primary things. First, protecting core services for British Columbians. It's also deeply focused on ensuring that every dollar that we are entrusted with from British Columbians is well spent. That's why we're doing an efficiency review. That work is ongoing and we'll report out on it on Q1. It's also focused on revenue growth. These things must happen in concert. We are going to move things to a balanced budget. It's going to happen over time, over multiple budgets, Honourable Speaker.
Member supplemental.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, it's interesting. We are in the process of budget estimates, and all of our members in the opposition are working very hard to make sure that we're prepared, asking questions about how that money is being spent. The question really is, when you've got that big a hole in the budget, when you're off by that much, how on earth can we be efficiently being able to do our job when we have no idea whether there's going to be cuts or whether there's going to be changes? $3 billion deficit, Mr. Speaker. This is nothing trivial in terms of this, what's happening in British Columbia. This government knew in advance that they were going to get rid of the carbon tax. They campaigned on it. It should not have been a surprise. So can the Finance Minister confirm that nobody in her ministry was actually thought out of a plan as to how to deal with this? Or, quite frankly, was this just pure incompetence or an intentional budget?
Minister of Finance.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Our budget was tabled in accordance with legislative requirements and prepared with the information available and government decisions at the time. A budget is a moment in time, Honourable Speaker, and it is not appropriate to include speculative things in a budget, Honourable Speaker. We had to wait until the action had been taken by the federal government. We had made it very clear, the Premier was very clear on this. He said, when and if the federal government removes the backstops on the carbon tax, BC will do the same thing, Honourable Speaker. The budget was tabled on March 4th. At that time, the federal government still had the carbon tax in place. On March 14th, that change was made. The first day that we were back in this chamber, Honourable Speaker, we moved forward with the change in accordance to the commitment we made to British Columbians.
House Leader of the Official Opposition.
On Thursday, April 3rd, a question was raised by opposition regarding Moody's projection that the province's deficit would balloon to $14.3 billion. The minister's response, quote, "The member opposite can make up numbers all he wants," end quote. The numbers were not made up. Moody's stated that their projected deficit of $14.3 billion was due to, quote, "Our projections include the adverse revenue impacts of the province's recent decision and legislative change to eliminate the consumer carbon tax," end quote. I'd like to offer the minister an opportunity to retract her statement that the opposition was making up numbers about her budget. Will the minister retract her statement and acknowledge that Moody's projected this government to accumulate a $14.3 billion deficit?
Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. There are many things that go into a decision by these credit rating agencies, including very important factors like the threat of tariffs and now the implementation of tariffs that we're experiencing. This is a time of extreme economic uncertainty, Honourable Speaker, and we do expect that many provinces...
Members, let the minister continue.
We do expect that many provinces, unfortunately, will experience credit rating downturn. I will highlight a number of other things that these credit agencies have said about us, because there are many things going in our favour. First of all, Moody's notes that BC's credit profile is supported by a resilient and diverse economy with lower reliance on the US than other provinces. S&P also highlights that federal immigration policies and heightened trade uncertainty will create challenges for economic growth. There are many factors that go into these decisions, Honourable Speaker, but what's important for British Columbians to know is that British Columbia has what the world wants, Honourable Speaker, and we will continue to diversify our economy, to bring down trade barriers, and to ensure economic growth to support what's important to British Columbians.
Member supplemental.
Accountability matters, transparency matters, and this government has already been called the most secretive government in Canada, quoted by the BC Freedom of Information and Privacy Association. This opposition works very hard to dig into numbers, hold the government to account, but when we can't get accurate information, it's downright irresponsible. Again, will the minister do the right thing, pause the Committee of Supply, or at the very least admit in the House and to the people of British Columbia that the new deficit that we're facing down is in fact $14.3 billion?
Minister.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. And what I would say to the member opposite is I very much do respect the work of the opposition. Absolutely. And it is absolutely normal procedure that a budget will be brought in and it is a reflection of a moment in time. The normal way of things is that any changes will be reflected at Q1 and changes that come next will be reflected at Q2. This is the normal way of things, Honourable Speaker. We're doing tremendous work right now on the question of our deficit.
Members, wait for your turn. Minister.
We are doing important work right now on the question of deficit, and I am determined to get us back on the road to balance. That work is going on now. We'll have more to show Q1, which is the normal way of things.
Leader of the third party.
Mr. Speaker, the carbon tax is no more, and gas prices have actually dropped across BC. But despite the Premier's warning to the industry, whether these prices will last is far from certain. How much oil and gas companies stand to profit from this abrupt change is yet to be seen. The 2019 Fuel Price Transparency Act requires companies to submit data, but it also needs to carry consequences when consumers are being gouged. In the Sea to Sky, for years, residents have been paying the same or higher price for fuel despite a 12-cent per litre differential from the TransLink levy, that they don't have to pay. So the FPTA has not benefited my constituents, despite the BCUC's data confirming that Sea to Sky drivers have been overcharged for 4 years. Mr. Speaker, if kitchen table affordability is really this government's focus, my question for the minister is, when will you give the BCUC some teeth so it can take a bite out of blatant profiteering by oil and gas companies?
Minister of Energy.
Well, thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. And this legislature did pass the Fuel Price Transparency Act in 2019. And that act has had a very significant effect, that transparency, and frankly, the work of a lot of people, including independent organizations, in ensuring that differentials between fuel price in British Columbia and other provinces are not there. In fact, the extent of that differential has been reduced by 62%, which shows the value in this case of the legislation that we passed unanimously in this legislature. And there will be a continuing task, particularly in this time, when affordability is important for people, and when we have to ensure that the full value of the carbon tax cut goes to consumers, there will be, of course, important activity done by the BCUC in support of that. The member might well argue, and he presumably is arguing, for full regulation of prices in BC, but our act, Honourable Speaker, is based on transparency. It's working very effectively. I think it's acknowledged to be working effectively, and we have to continue to support the BCUC in its work.
Member supplemental.
So while carbon taxes became a scapegoat during the inflation crisis, oil companies were actually the biggest driver of rising costs. A recent report for the Centre for Future Work shows how oil companies pocketed $151 billion during the fossil fuel spike of 2022, costing Canadian households an average of $12,000 each. The report warns that without action, BC remains vulnerable to future price spikes. The best protection against oil price spikes is to transition away from fossil fuels, and the Green Caucus will continue to push in this direction. In the meantime, to the Minister of Energy, what will the province do to protect British Columbians and tax windfall profits appropriately to help cover some of these budget deficits?
Minister.
Honourable Speaker, a couple of things. First of all, I would note that the impact of the Fuel Price Transparency Act, the fact that transparency led to a reduction in prices, is not a moment of great, should not be a moment of great pride for the industry. I'd say that, Honourable Speaker. With respect to what we need to do, Honourable Speaker, is to build more clean energy. I think the member would agree with that, and that is exactly what we're doing. Clean energy the size of Site C in projects supported by the government, all of them amongst our 18 priority projects, Honourable Speaker. Wind and solar projects that are lower priced, Honourable Speaker, and will serve British Columbia for a generation, Honourable Speaker, and displace, when we do that, displace often energy resources that have to come from elsewhere. They're good for the economy for that reason. They're good for communities. They're good for regions, particularly in the interior of the province, and we've got to continue to do it. Our response to this must be to lean into building more electricity so consumers and everyone else can have more options.
Member for Delta South.
Mr. Speaker, I recently spent 4 hours in agriculture foods estimates reviewing programs meant to support food security and farmers across this province. Is the minister cutting these vital programs, or are billions being added in debt to their budget?
Minister of Agriculture.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I appreciate the question from the member, and we did enjoy 4 hours together. Maybe it was 5. It was so fun I lost track of time. We always have a great debate, and the one thing I know about the member is that he loves agriculture as much as I do. I think everybody in British Columbia, everybody in Canada understands the importance of food security, food resiliency, and the food economy, especially now since we've been under a lot of pressure because of the tariffs. It's really an important issue to our farmers here in British Columbia. We know how important food security is on this side of the House, and I imagine the other side does as well. That's why we've increased our ministry budget from $130 million to $143 million.
Member for Kelowna Mission.
Mr. Speaker, I'm confused. During estimates for tourism, arts, culture, and sport, we spent 4 hours asking the minister questions in good faith about key programs that should be strengthening our communities and supporting private sector jobs. Now, I don't know if we were debating real numbers or a fudged budget. So, which is it? Would the minister please stand up and let us know whether we're cutting tourism funding or is the province increasing the deficit?
Minister of Tourism, Arts and Culture.
Thank you, member. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm just so excited about the future for our province because tourism is in every one of our communities. Tourism provides incredible jobs for over 127,000 British Columbians. It's actually Tourism Week in BC. I say Tourism Week, Tourism Month, Tourism Year, because we have so much opportunities to support our community. So I'm glad the member asked questions and estimates. I'm sorry the critic was unable to join us. I send her my best wishes, but I've just got to say the future is bright for tourism. I'm keen that we're supporting it. I'm keen we're investing in it in communities all across this province, and I'm looking forward to continuing to support our tourism industry. I wish the others would get on board. Thanks, Honourable Speaker.
Member for Surrey North.
Thank you, Speaker. In tourism estimates, I asked about the FIFA World Cup. Was the minister using real or made up further budget numbers during this debate?
Honourable Speaker, sure.
Minister of Tourism.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I'm glad the member asked about the World Cup. It's coming next year, and it's exciting for BC. I think the opportunity is huge. It's huge. I know not everybody on that side maybe supports soccer, but I do know some of the members were asking me for tickets. I don't have any tickets to give you members. You'll have to buy them, like the general public, when they become available. But the World Cup has got an opportunity to grow our economy by over $1 billion. The members have a lot to say, but they don't actually say very much, Honourable Speaker. So it's unfortunate. It is called question period. They asked a question, the member asked a question, and I'm keen to share why we're supporting the World Cup.
When would member will learn not to interrupt others when other one person is speaking? Please. Is Minister done?
Thank you. I'd just say World Cup's coming to BC. We're excited about it. It's unfortunate the Conservatives aren't. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Member for Langley Walnut Grove.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. BC's infrastructure is crumbling, and this government just blew a $3 billion hole in their budget. Will this minister tell us what priority infrastructure projects will get delayed or cancelled due to their budget?
Minister of Transportation.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Member, for God's sake, this is really getting out of control.
It's okay, Honourable Speaker. I will remind him of the words, which is the BC Conservatives are falling down. Because, Honourable Speaker, this side of the House, $15 billion worth of infrastructure projects being built right across this province, Honourable Speaker. From a $5.9 billion Surrey-Langley SkyTrain, Honourable Speaker. From Highway 1 widening, Honourable Speaker. Not infrastructure, Honourable Speaker. A member on the other side says building a SkyTrain is not building infrastructure, that building a Patella Bridge is not building infrastructure, that widening of Highway 1 isn't building infrastructure, that rebuilding of Hazel Trembath School in my riding is not infrastructure, Honourable Speaker. Honourable Speaker, clearly they need to stay on that side for a very long time to come.
Member for West Kelowna Peachland.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Wildfires, floods, and other disasters are significant in BC, and this NDP government has failed to deal with the impact. After 4 hours of questioning, we still don't know if their budget is accurate. How much worse will this government's response be when they cut essential services?
Minister of who's going to answer? Emergency Management, yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. We know that communities across BC are finding increasing effects from climate change. It's definitely top of mind for our ministry to make sure that communities are well supported in both the preparation before events happen and then also in recovery. To date, we spent over $500 million on 2,500 projects to get communities prepared and ready for events. We're going to continue doing this work. It's vitally important to partner with local communities and First Nations. Thank you.
Member for Richmond Centre.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. In 2018, this NDP government removed the requirement for BC to be energy self-sufficient. We are about to go into a 9-hour estimate for the Minister of Energy. And how can we possibly debate the estimates of this budgets when we don't even have the accurate numbers?
Minister of Energy.
Honourable Speaker. Honourable Speaker, the member will know that with respect to energy self-sufficiency and energy projects, BC Hydro routinely submits all of that information to the BC Utilities Commission for review. I'd suggest he look there, Honourable Speaker. In addition to that, Honourable Speaker, we do need, I'd agree with everyone, more energy in BC. And I am surprised, Honourable Speaker, that when we are saying we need to build projects and we're building projects, the opposition opposes them, Honourable Speaker. I am surprised, Honourable Speaker. There they go again, Honourable Speaker.
Members.
There they go again, Honourable Speaker.
Second. Minister will continue.
Well, Honourable Speaker, in British Columbia, we need to build more electricity, more clean electricity, more renewable electricity. And that's precisely what we're doing. BC Hydro has a $36 billion capital plan that addresses issues of infrastructure and building out our province. We are going to aspire to be the clean energy superpower we need to do. We have to continue to do this. All of the information relevant to that debate is available to the opposition, as are briefings from my ministry, which will be provided to the opposition. So I think, Honourable Speaker, there are bigger issues in BC than how sad the opposition is about estimates, Honourable Speaker. There are issues about affordability that people are facing. There's a response to the Donald Trump tariffs. There are significant issues across British Columbia. And I think, Honourable Speaker, if the opposition needs more information, there they go, they're just yelling. Honourable Speaker, they're just yelling. But if the opposition needs more information, they know, Honourable Speaker, that we'll provide that information.
Member for Prince George Valemount.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Last Thursday, I rose in Citizen Services estimates to discuss how this government approaches information management and record keeping. It was interesting to confirm during estimates that this government has signed a contract worth over $5 million with Elon Musk's Starlink to provide high-speed broadband services to rural communities. Is the $5 million contract cancelled, or is it still part of the budget?
Minister of Citizen
For the question,
Services.
Honourable Speaker, yes, I can confirm the contract is still in force, and these contracts are for the safety and well-being of British Columbians, and we are not going to cancel things like remote highway cameras or connectivity at remote highway station. We'll continue to work doing what we have been doing, trying to connect the province by 2027. We have invested $584 million in connectivity since coming to form government in 2017, and we have moved the dial significantly. In 2017, rural homes connectivity rate is only 57%. Now it's 74%. And for First Nation communities, particularly in 2017, it's 66%. Now they're 83% connected. And by the completion of this project in 2027, they will be connected to the rate of 96%. So we are very confident that the project is ongoing and that in the future there will be more options for services which will benefit consumers. So
Thank
I
you.
answer your question.
Thank you,
member.
Minister. Member for West Vancouver, Capilano.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My fellow MLA and I, we spent 6 hours in education estimates questioning the Minister of Education and Childcare about their priorities. Will this minister have to cut vital education programs to try and balance their budget?
Minister of Education.
Thank you, Speaker. And what I can do is confirm that we are spending more money than we ever have before in education. We, in our government, are doing everything we can to set our kids up for success. We are continuing to protect core services like education in light of an uncertain times, including Trump tariffs. We are investing an additional $370 million in education this year to do some amazing things. I'm going to highlight a couple of them. Speaker. We've invested $30 million to improve literacy for all students. An additional $20 million to boost the Student and Family Affordability Fund, which helps pay for student necessities like school supplies. And we're expanding our food program, Honourable Speaker, with almost 90% of our schools in BC now offering school food programs. That's $214 million, Honourable Speaker, because we know a child who's hungry can't learn to their best ability. We're going to continue to invest in our kids. I get the honour of doing that now from birth to graduation, and we're going to keep supporting them. Thank you.
Member for Abbotsford West.
Well, British Columbia is facing a $14.3 billion projected deficit and growing, so students, institutions, and training programs deserve clarity. Through the Speaker, can the Minister confirm whether post-secondary and future skills funding can expect cuts?
Minister of Post-Secondary Education.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker, and thank you so much to the member across for that question. Yesterday, in estimates, I did confirm that there was extra investments in post-secondary education and future skills. In fact, Honourable Speaker, since 2017, our government has increased operating funding to post-secondary institutions every year and provided over $1 billion in additional grants between 2017 to 2025. And I want to take this opportunity, Honourable Speaker, to really thank our public post-secondary institutions for working with our industries, with our partners, to make sure that we are providing the best quality education for the workers of our future.
Member for Skeena.
Mr. Speaker, I spent 8 hours questioning the Minister of Health during estimates, focusing on mental health and addictions, a crisis perpetuated by failed NDP policies. Given the government's projected $14.3 billion budget, can the minister confirm whether her ministry will cut programs, yes or no?
Minister of Health.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. BC has a growing population, an aging population, and we know more than ever it is important to ensure that we strengthen BC's public health care system so that we know that that health care is there for people when and where they need it. As the members all know, the Health Ministry has a $4.2 billion lift over the next 3 years to continue those critical investments. But, Mr. Speaker, the opposition is asking about cuts, and I'm going to talk about what we're not cutting and what we're not saying no to. On this side of the House, we're not saying no to a new medical school training doctors here. We're not saying no to a piece of land for a new Surrey hospital. And we are not ripping up contracts for essential healthcare workers as part of our healthcare system, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you.
At this rate, Mr. Speaker, I'd expect that they would ask us to cancel the review of the health authorities. But, Mr. Speaker, we're moving ahead on those because we know it's important to minimize unnecessary administrative spending. We're going to make sure that dollars are being maximized on the front line, delivering healthcare services for British Columbians. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Kamloops Centre.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Given the evolving and fluid situation, implementation of U.S. tariffs and Canada's response are not incorporated into the Budget 2025 economic outlook. That's a direct quote from page 3 of this Finance Minister's budget, Mr. Speaker. We've had questions now to 10 different ministers today. Not one can point to any specific potential cost savings or not in this year's budget. And in fact, the Minister of Finance refuses to acknowledge whether that means the deficit has going up or not. It's actually a pretty straightforward question the opposition is trying to get to the bottom of. And the minister can deflect and talk about first quarter updates all she would like. That's not till September 15th. That's when the first quarter update will actually come out. And I would point out the carbon tax was actually brought in and implemented and the repeal happened before we've even dealt with other tax measures in this year's budget. So for the Minister of Finance to try to deflect and say she cannot accurately say what is going to happen to $3 billion worth of revenue, whether it will be direct service cuts in the immediate time or whether it gets directly added to our deficit while we're facing credit downgrades predicated on that, is completely irresponsible by this minister and by this government. The Energy Minister talks. Perhaps he could give advice how to backdate budget documents to this minister so we could get some accurate numbers. When will we have an accurate representation of what is happening to the revenues and expenses in this province?
Minister of Finance.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. Thank you to the member for the question. A budget is a moment in time, Honourable Speaker. It is. It's a moment in time. It incorporates... Honourable Speaker, it incorporates the information available at that time. At the time that we were preparing our budget, there was tremendous uncertainty about which tariffs were coming in, when and how. And so we made assumptions based on the information that we had. We did include the disruption to the economy that was already happening, Honourable Speaker, that will continue to happen.
Members,
it's not appropriate, Honourable Speaker, to include decisions that have not yet been made in our budget assumptions. The question about the carbon tax, yes, it came in on March 14th. It could just as well have happened in December or the following year, Honourable Speaker. We have to make assumptions to do budgeting, and that's what we did. They're defensible, they're appropriate, they're the normal way of things, and I look forward to going through estimates with the member opposite. But there's nothing unusual to how we introduced this budget, and of course, the uncertainty that we're facing right now due to tariffs. But I will point out, Honourable Speaker, that on this side of the House, we're taking these economic threats deeply seriously, Honourable Speaker, and we're standing up every opportunity we have to trump, Honourable Speaker, as opposed to the other side of the House.
That ends the question period.